Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video, Ivan here. What I've got for you today is a very interesting watch from a brand that I very recently became aware of. It's called Welly Merck, and this is their moonphase model. It's a beautiful watch, and so is the movement. Just wait to see it. If you end up interested in getting this watch, you can do so by visiting Welly Merck's official store on AliExpress. It usually costs about 150 euro or US dollars, but since AliExpress is celebrating their back to school sale right now, you can get it for 130, maybe even less if some of these discount codes work for you. I've left all the info and links in the description of this video in case you want to check it out. The watch arrived in this paper box. In it, there is a small hardshell case which contains the watch, and I really like when brands give you one of these. If you followed my channel for a while, then you probably know already that when it comes to affordable watches, this is the kind of packaging I appreciate very much, since I can actually use it as a travel case. In the box you also find a couple of instruction manuals and a bracelet resizing tool, which by the way is of much higher quality than the ones Steel Dive gives you with their watches. Without wasting any more of your time, let's get to the dimensions. The case diameter is 41mm, but the dial is so large that it actually feels like a 43mm watch. And here is a quick comparison with my Oris Aquis, so that you can see what I mean. Then we've got the lug to lug, which is 48.5mm. The thickness is exactly 13, and the lug width is 20mm. On my 17cm or 6.7 inch wrist, the watch looks great in my opinion. It wears nicely, it's comfortable, and it's well balanced. It also has a lot of wrist presence. The dial definitely makes it appear much larger than its case diameter 41mm suggests, and that of course can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on the kind of watches you prefer. Moving on guys, I want to mention the design, the build quality, and the finishing. The design reminds me a fair bit about the Christopher Ward C1 Moon Glow, mainly due to the two large moons on the dial and perhaps the bracelet design. Besides that, the two watches are completely different. Basically what we have here is a dress watch design. Unfortunately, due to its large dimensions, it can't quite qualify as such. When it comes to the build quality, this watch is really well made for the price. The case, as you would expect, is made of 316L steel, and so is the bracelet. The front crystal is made of sapphire. I'm not sure if it has any air coating applied or not, but it's clear enough. Then, if we turn the watch around, we'll see the exhibition case back. The crystal here is just a mineral crystal, but it gives us a very good look at the movement, which for now I'm just going to say that it's not a Seiko and it's not a Miura. Here's a closer look at the finishing. It's a mixture of vertical brushing and high polishing, and the overall execution is excellent, especially the brushing on the sides of the case. It's very fine and very consistent. The bracelet is also great and it perfectly matches the case. Speaking of the bracelet, its quality is decent. All the links are solid and there are no sharp edges. The sizing is made possible via split pins. And the clasp is a generic butterfly clasp, which works as expected. The only downside here is that due to the lack of any sort of micro adjustment, some people may not be able to get a perfect fit. In my case, I simply removed 5 links and it's exactly how I wanted it to be. Guys, one of the two big selling points of this watch is definitely the dial. Welly Merck offers it in two different colors, black and blue. I went for the blue and it looks beautiful in my opinion. The blue color is very rich, very nice, and it has a bit of a metallic look to it. The main attraction here is obviously the moon phase complication, which sadly is not a true moon phase complication, but more on that in a moment. The two moons are very detailed, their execution and the execution of all dial elements is excellent, including the handset and the indices. By the way, I love the choice of hands, but I'm not so sure how I feel about the indices. In my opinion, small batons like the ones Christopher Ward uses on their C1 might have been a better choice here. I don't know, let me know what you think. In the dark, the dial becomes even better because the lume is very good. You get Superluminova C3 on the hands, the indices, the two moons, and even the stars are lumed, which was a nice little surprise to me. And since this is Superluminova we are talking about here, you can expect everything to remain visible for a fair amount of time. Alright, it's time I tell you about the second and biggest selling point of this watch, which in my opinion is the movement. What you're looking at is a modified version of the caliber Hangzhou 7200A, and it looks amazing with all these Geneva stripes. As far as the specs go, this caliber has 21 joules and a very impressive power reserve of 72 hours. Accuracy wise, fully wound, dial up, mine is running only 3 seconds fast per day with a beat error of just 0.3 milliseconds. I've had the watch for a bit less than 2 weeks, so I can't really speak of its long-term performance and reliability, but my initial impressions are very positive. I did a bit of a research and I couldn't find any major drawbacks besides that this movement is significantly larger than something like, let's say, a Seiko NH35, and I guess that's the reason why we don't see it so often. Guys, next I want us to talk about the negatives about this watch. The first and most important one is that, as I said a moment ago, the moonphase complication doesn't make much sense here. You see, a full moon cycle takes 29 days and a half, and the typical moonphase complication has a driving wheel with 59 teeth, which is 29.5 multiplied 2. That driving wheel will advance only once every 24 hours, and when a full cycle is complete, the second moon will appear on the dial. However, this watch has the two moons disc connected to the date wheel, which has 31 notches, and so it's impossible to get an accurate tracking of the moon cycle. Is this a big deal? Well, if you care about the moonphase complication, absolutely yes. If not, then I guess you could live with it. The second aspect that needs improvement is the branding. Welly Merck sounds a bit odd. The good news is that the people behind the brand are aware of it, and they've commented on Reddit that they are already working on it. In my opinion, the easiest thing they can do is to simply use the WM logo without anything else and call it a day. So, what are my final thoughts? Well, overall, I'm pleased with this watch. I was very interested in checking it out, as I think it's a good looking piece. In addition, it's well made, and this 7200A caliber is kind of a big deal. You know, if you can ignore the gimmicky moonphase and the branding, which, let's be honest, isn't any worse than St. Martin or even Christopher Ward, then I think you may have a lot of fun with this watch. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching another of my videos. If you enjoyed it, I would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Bye guys, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.